That's good. Hi friends, I'm the Saxophone Oracle. This week we're talking about overtones. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with overtones or have heard about overtones. The thing is, overtone exercises are some of the most fundamental and probably the most important exercises that we should be doing as saxophonists. Yet so many of us either don't enjoy doing them or simply refuse to do them. And that's why I felt it was important to talk about overtones this week. Because overtone exercises are so important, there's tons of great resources already available. There are lots of great books you can check out, tons of great YouTube content. In fact, there are people demonstrating all kinds of cool and crazy things that we can do with overtones. So many different exercises that we can try, they're available to us, and people showing us great tips on how to achieve the overtones. And this is fantastic. However, I've noticed that when people talk about overtones, they tend to focus on or say the same thing, which is something like, we must practice overtones because it will make us sound better. Right? I think that would sound familiar to most of you. And the thing is, yes, overtones will make us sound better. In fact, it's going to do a whole list of things that are going to help us improve as saxophonists that people tend not to talk about. And when it comes to a set of exercises that is so crucial, fundamental, vital to making us sound better, yet so few of us want to do them, I really feel it's worth taking the time to dig a little bit deeper and explore the how and the why of overtones. So how will these exercises and why will these exercises benefit me and make me a better saxophonist? I really think that if people have a better understanding of this, hopefully it'll motivate them to add it to their routines and make it part of their daily practice. I am going to show you the exercises that I think are most important, and I'm going to demonstrate them for you, and I'm going to talk about them for you. So please be patient, we're going to get to them. But I do want to spend a little bit of time here off the top exploring the how and why, because I do think it's important, and I think it'll help a lot of people get this into their practice routine. We've established that overtones are going to make us sound better. So very quickly, let's look at why it's going to make us sound better. What are the things that it's going to help with? Number one, overtones are going to help us to recognize and understand good saxophone tone. In fact, the ideal saxophone sound is the sound we get when we're making our overtones. And by practicing these exercises, it's going to help us to train our ears to imagine and envision that sound. So when we're playing the instrument itself, aside from the exercise, hopefully it's going to bring some of those tonal colors and characteristics to our playing. Number two, overtones are essentially an exercise in voicing. And voicing is something I've talked a lot about recently. I have a video about it over here, one of my early videos. I've made another video recently about a way we can go about practicing it. But overtones are a voicing and exercise. And voicing is everything that happens internally. What's happening in our throats, in our mouths, our oral cavities, our tongue position, our airspeed, our embouchures, all these things that we adjust and play with in order to achieve the ideal saxophone sound. And by working on overtones and the voicing aspect, this is what gives us control over sound and the instrument. Three, overtones are going to help us with our pitch and our intonation. Four, it's going to help us with our accuracy. I know there are many of you out there who squeak and honk and wish you could stop it. Well, doing these exercises are going to help you because, again, it has to do with voicing. All this internal stuff that overtone exercises work on are going to give you the accuracy to play the pitches you are intending to play rather than squeak and honk out different notes. Number five, overtones are going to help us understand the physicality of the instrument, better understand the mechanics of everything. In order to achieve these notes, we need to have a good posture. We need to breathe correctly. We need to be relaxed. We're going to learn to understand the feeling of a correct embouchure that it takes to achieve these notes. And on another level, it's going to get us further into the instrument, a deeper understanding of the physics of it, how sound is created, how we can manipulate it. Number six, and this one is going to be the most important to all of you because I know saxophonists, whether you're a seasoned pro or a beginner, all you really care about is shredding up high in the altissimo. Am I right? Right? Everyone wants to play altissimo from day one. And guess what? Altissimo notes are overtones. So you cannot play altissimo unless you can control and play your overtone exercises. The first things we need to understand are what is an overtone and why is the overtone the ideal saxophone sound? It's a little bit technical, but I'm going to try and keep it as light as possible. Essentially, any note we hear is not simply one note. It is a whole group of notes working together. So we have the bottom pitch that we hear, but then there are all these other pitches that aren't audible to us as individual notes, but we more feel them. They're the shimmer to the note, the shine, the color, the rumble that we hear. And these are known as harmonics or overtones. And they exist in a series. It doesn't matter if the note is a B flat, a C, a D, an F sharp, whatever it is, the series is always the same. So you have the fundamental note ringing. The next in the series is an octave higher. Then there's a note a fifth above that. Then there's a note a perfect fourth above that. Then a major third above, a minor third, a major second, and they get smaller as you get higher and higher and higher. So there are all these sympathetic notes ringing in each and every tone we hear. So on the saxophone, for example, we take low B flat, our lowest note, without changing the fingering, just by altering our throat position, tongue position, air pressure, things like that, we can achieve these harmonics or overtones. So here's low B flat. Without changing anything, I'm going to produce the B flat an octave higher. Without changing the fingering, an F above that. Now the B flat above that. Now the D above that. Now the F above that. Then an A flat. B flat. And it goes up, as you can see. So I didn't change the fingering, but I'm able to produce those harmonics that ring above each and every note. Now that we understand what an overtone is, let's look at why the overtone is the ideal saxophone sound that we want to achieve, as opposed to the sound we get from our regular fingerings. Imagine our saxophone's a guitar string. So we have the reed at one end and a straight tube going out to the other end. So the way the harmonic series works is if the guitar string is our low B flat, we pluck it, it rings, we get that beautiful low B flat. If we want to get the B flat an octave higher, we push the fret that's exactly the halfway point of the string. We cut the string in half the string is dead, the other half vibrates. When we pluck it, we get the octave B flat. We block the string further up, we get another note, okay? And that's what the keys of our saxophone do. So if we play the low B flat, we have that entire tube vibrating, bringing us all the color, all the shimmer, all the shine. And when we play our natural B flat fingering, so say bis B flat fingering, what happens? All of a sudden, we're cutting that tube in half. So we're on our low B flat, everything goes in the mouthpiece, it goes through the entire horn, all the way out the bell. If we play the overtone, we get our higher B flat, but it goes through the entire horn. If we play the natural fingering, the bis, all of a sudden, all the tone holes are open. So the tube is cut there. All the air starts escaping out of all these tone holes. Virtually none of it comes out of here. So we're deadening all this part of the saxophone. And so it's a dramatic tonal difference. Here is the overtone B flat. Here is my bis B flat fingering. Now, I don't know how that translates over YouTube with my inexpensive microphone setup, but if you try this at home, the difference is incredible. The overtone B flat shimmers, shines, you feel it ringing in your arms, in the room. When you play the natural bis B flat fingering, all of a sudden it feels so dead. It feels like half the tone you used to have. One of the points of the exercises that we practice is to help us bring all that lost color from the overtone into our regular saxophone fingerings, thus making us sound dramatically better, right? We're going to compensate for the loss of the tube by doing whatever manipulations we can here to bring as much color and shimmer to the sound. Here are the exercises. There's 3 basic exercises that I've been doing for over 30 years. They're really all you need. You can go as deep as you want into overtones and get into multiphonics and whatever. Have fun with that. But really, to get all the benefits that we were talking about today, there's 3 main exercises. Exercise 1, simply being able to produce the harmonic series in order. So you can do this off of all your low notes, and you should. B flat, B, C, C sharp, D at the very least. I'm going to do it off of B flat. But this is it, just playing them up and down in order. That's it, playing them up and down in order accurately. Next level of difficulty, if you're getting good at that, play them out of order. You can play them in thirds, as it were, or in any order, so long as you're hitting the ones that you're intending to hit accurately. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. You can do bugle calls and little songs just by manipulating all of this. I'm not really good at that. I'd have to practice a lot to get that into shape. But you can hear people all over YouTube doing it. It's really, really impressive. Second exercise, tone matching. So switching between the overtone fingering and the natural fingering. You're going to do this as a long tone. You're going to try and make the switch as seamless as possible. You're going to want to keep the same tonal consistency as much as possible. So when you go from the overtone fingering to your natural fingering, you're going to make any adjustment necessary to bring as much overtone to that natural fingering. And then you go back and you go back and forth between the two. So here's low B, here's middle B flat. It's really difficult. I've always struggled with this one. I'm always working on this one, trying to get more color and overtone into my natural fingerings. It's quite dramatic, the difference between the two. The last one is playing your scales off the overtone. I talked about this in a video the other week. You can play your entire range of the saxophone without your octave key. So you could go about it that way. Fingering the low octave of C major. Same thing with B flat. If you want to add a level of difficulty, try doing it off of the next partial up. So I'll play my B flat scale with the low B flat fingering, but I'm going to start on the middle F. That's extremely difficult as well, but a fantastic exercise. The things we need to think about when we're practicing these exercises. First, we need proper air support, as with anything whenever playing the saxophone. Filling our bellies, we're supporting the air with all our abdominal muscles, etc., and that's what we're using to force the air. That's really crucial. 2, you need to be relaxed, and you have to resist the temptation to tense up and to force things. Because that reed needs to vibrate, everything needs to be really relaxed, otherwise you're hindering your ability to get the overtone. Everyone's tendency is to get tense in their arms, in their bodies, in their embouchure, but that's not going to allow you to achieve it. You have to resist that tendency and be as relaxed as possible and let the throat do the work. 3, you have to think about hearing the partials before you try and play them. So if you're trying to play the first overtone, try and get that sound in your ear ready before you attempt to get that overtone. That's really going to help. 4, be mindful of the changes you're making when you achieve the overtone, right? What did you do with your throat? Can you describe it in words so that you can remember it next time? What is the sensation? What is happening when you successfully get the overtone? So be mindful of this. 5, you have to play them slowly and hold them as relatively long notes. It's kind of a long tone exercise as well, especially the exercise where you're switching between the overtone fingering and the natural fingering and back and forth, because you want to give yourself the time to make the adaptation necessary, the change to bring that color to the sound and notice all these things. Really spend time holding that overtone a long time so you hear what that color is, and then when you switch the fingering, spend the time necessary there to bring as much overtone to it and back. It's not a race. You're not going to achieve anything by trying to plow through these exercises. They really should be done slowly and as long tone exercises. What's important, again, accuracy and consistency. Finally, I'm going to give you the tips that I can. We discussed how everything happens in here. It's a really difficult, almost impossible thing to teach. You have to do it trial and error. But there are some things that I think will help you. Number 1, we just mentioned it, don't force. Stay relaxed. Resist the tendency to force anything. 2, if you're having difficulty getting a certain partial, try it from the natural fingering. So play your natural fingering, hold the long tone, and then switch to the overtone fingering, because that's going to set up the vibrations in the horn and your ear to help you get that more difficult partial that you're having trouble getting straight from the overtone fingering. 3, you have a combination of exercises here. They're all complementary, whether it's the scale off of the overtone, the tone matching, or just producing the series. Whichever one you do is going to help and benefit the other. So don't bang your head against the wall. If you're having a hard time with a specific one, then switch to another. Don't drive yourself crazy. You're going to get there eventually. So go between the two. If low B flat's giving you a problem, try low B or low C. Maybe that'll be better for you that day. But don't tense up, don't bang your head against the wall. Just do a combination of them. 4, reeds. Now this is key. You need a certain amount of resistance to achieve the overtones. So by that, I don't mean you have to get a number 4 or a number 5 reed. But if your reed is too soft, you're going to be fighting it, and it's going to be really difficult. I did a video where I demonstrate every single reed strength made. You can check it out over here. And you'll notice that I can do the overtones or altissimo on virtually every reed strength except for 2, 1.5, and 1. Once you get soft, there's just not enough resistance there. It was somewhat possible with the 2, but 1.5, 1, completely impossible. So if you're playing on a number 2 reed and you're having a real struggle with overtones, you might consider trying a slightly harder reed, maybe a 2.5, and that might give you a little more success. It's worth a shot. The next tip, the 5th tip, it's great to practice with someone who is good at overtones. Practice this with someone else. If you have a teacher, spend a little bit of your lesson every week doing overtones. Or if you have a friend who's really good at overtones, do it with them. Because if you're struggling and someone plays their saxophone directly in front of yours, the sound waves transfer from one bell to the other. So it's setting up your horn with the right frequency to successfully achieve that overtone. So if you're trying to attack it yourself on your own and it's giving you trouble, if your teacher plays it for you and then you try and match them with it, you're going to find it's a lot easier because the harmonic is already set up in the instrument, and then take notice of what you have to do to maintain that pitch. Last thing, it can be easier, much easier to do these with the tongue. If you're going up, it's almost impossible to slur them. You can sort of slur them going down, but to start with, you're going to have a lot more success if you start each note, each partial with the tongue. Once you're really comfortable with that, you can try other ways of doing it, but the tongue is your friend in this place. Use it to your advantage. I'm the Saxophone Oracle, and overtones was the topic this week. I really do hope you found this video useful. I hope that you can take some of the things we talked about today, implement it into your practicing. I really want all of you to make overtones a regular part of your practice routine. They're really important. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you for continuing to watch. If you have questions or comments, drop them below. Shoot me an email. I'd love to address them in any future videos. Thank you for watching. I wish you a great week. Happy practicing. See you next Tuesday. Bye for now.